If you are ready to start your coaching business and you want to be inspired, I am so thrilled today to introduce you to another client, Jenny. She's gone through our program so fast, has incredible results, and is doing amazing work with her clients. Jenny, will you introduce yourself? Tell us who you help and what your business is all about.
Okay, so my name is Jenny Pena. I am a national board certified health and wellness coach, and I help busy professionals, men and women, help lower their A1C, balance their blood sugar, ditch a lot of the cravings and the brain fog that comes with that, maybe lose a few pounds, and all of that without having to get into extreme diets and without having to spend hours at the gym in a daily, but with sustainable habits. That is the key. And that's what I feel that is special about the program that I offer. But that is what I do. And I founded GenP Coaching about 2 years ago. And I have been coaching almost 4 years. I first started and I'm still doing different things, but I started and you helped me so much in terms of the structure. And now I'm doing a lot of different things that I'm very excited to share about.
So you look super healthy yourself. Let me just give you a compliment. You do look healthy. So I think that you're involved yourself in what it is you're doing because this is your story.
Absolutely. To even give a background, I live in New York and I worked in the finance and I worked in the Wall Street area. So I had a thriving career. It was not even about, oh, you need to get more money or you need to. This did not came up as, oh, this is a strategy. I'm going to open a health coaching business and I'm going to start coaching. But it was more about my own struggles. I was diagnosed with PCOS, diabetes runs in my family, and then I was already seeing the A1C levels climbing up. I was already feeling the cravings. I couldn't lose the weight. And I just saw a lot of different things piling up in terms of my health. And I tried different things, and a lot of it didn't work. So I hit that point that I needed to explore okay, there has to be a better way. There has to be a way that is not just let's take some medication to try to control it. Because even with the medications, I had to be put on medications and the side effects were horrible. I could not manage the side effects. So that gave me like that wake up call. And all of this is happening when I'm in my late 20s. So a lot of people have the misconception about, especially with type 2 diabetes, that it's like an older people's, and it
Yes.
isn't. And now you're seeing a lot more women also struggling with PCOS in their
Yes.
fertility years, and a lot of it is connected with blood sugar. So I had to experience that myself. I had to go through fertility issues myself. Thankfully, I had a 7-year-old son, and I was blessed to be a mom, but it was not easy. And going through that and then finding what worked for me was what triggered, wait a minute, I want to help other people do the same thing. And I want them to know that they don't have to go on an extreme diet or go into intermittent fasting or go into keto or never eat bread or never eat rice, right? Like things that are very intrinsic of our culture, of our family traditions. It's like, okay, it doesn't have to be an all or nothing, but more about balance. And when I applied that to myself, I was able to lower my A1C to this day. It's in natural levels. I work out, I exercise. I don't go to the gym. My workouts are not super long because I just don't have the time to fit it like that. But I found different strategies to incorporate all of that and build my own health. And that has helped me help others because I can relate to the struggles that they have. Many are trying to invest in their careers. They have families. Depending on where you are in your life, you may be taking care of your parents. Now you're
Yeah.
having grandchildren. The task and responsibilities, they're always there. They just shift a little bit as you grow and it becomes challenging. So, how do you adapt that and still invest in yourself and be healthy so you can be there for the people you love ultimately?
So I'm going to share all of Jenny's links so that you can follow her and engage with her. And I mean, honestly, probably work with her because there's a lot of people listening in my demographic that are your ideal clients. When we worked together, I did some research to see what the numbers were of how many people were impacted by this. And Lord, if we were to say like 5 out of 10 or something, it's probably something like that. You might know, like percentage wise, how many people are we talking about over 50 that might have A1C problems? So you don't have to answer that now, but it's just a lot of people.
Mhm.
So I want to make sure that I include the way for people to connect with you. But I also want to mention about your Instagram because I follow you on Instagram and I see your stuff and I look at what you put out. And honestly, it is such great content, Jenny. I mean, you really share, like today, I was going through a carousel about rice. You mentioned rice. You know, my husband is Lebanese, so he's Middle Eastern. Hispanics eat rice. Asian community eats rice. There's not any community practically that doesn't use rice as a staple. And you were talking about like, not cutting it out, but how to utilize rice, a small portion, and the way how you should eat it. Anyway, what you're providing knowledge wise is so useful and so simple because it didn't say you can't eat rice. It said, here's how you do eat rice.
Exactly. And that is a lot of the content. I have to say that the clients are the ones that actually determine what I share. Why I decided to do that carousel and put it out there, because many people, without me even saying as a coach, you need to let go of this or that. My coaching principle is really not under the restriction because that makes you almost obsess over the restriction.
Yes.
I focus on like, well, let's not even talk about that. I'm not even going to, let's think about what you should have on your plate or what you should be doing. How can we add some of those things? So, in terms of mindset, you're not restricting something. You're like, wait a minute, I am adding things into my plate. But when you do that, you're crowding out other things. But a lot of these ideas is just because many people will come and say, please don't tell me I cannot eat rice because I grew up, this is part of my culture. Please do not tell me that. So in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, it's not like you cannot. You may need to shift a few things, how you eat it, what you pair it with, but you can still have it and assess like, does it fit? For me, I know how I have to include it. Maybe the frequency in the week may be changing, but at least I can still include it. I can still have it as part of my life. And that's the beauty of balance. Many people have that misconception. They're like, well, if I have diabetes or pre-diabetes, nothing sweet. They even want to
Yeah.
take out fruits. That's another misconception. And I have to put that on the content. So pretty much that's what drives it. When I see a lot of people asking or concerned about the same things, and I'm like, okay, this may be something that many people need to know that, okay, you can still have the rice. You may need to shift some things, but you can still have it and still support your A1C.
Oh, it's so good. And I'm giggling to myself because it's so true about the restriction. If you tell somebody they can't have something, it's all they're obsessed about, right?
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, I have to have the thing. And it makes me think about business because you're thinking about A1C and I'm always thinking about business and how when I tell people like you need to do this in the opposite, they're like, I don't want to do that. So I'm kind of like you when it comes to business building. I'm like, look, marketing is necessary, like food is necessary, but we have to do it in a way that works with you or you won't do it, right? We have to find the way that works for you. So that's what I was laughing over. Jenny, what got you and I together? Tell me about that. What brought you to me? How did we get connected?
I went to a school for health coaching, became a health coach. For me, I was not even thinking about I'm going to open up a business. It was more for my own health. I'm like, okay, I'm going to figure this thing out myself. I'm going to figure out how naturally I can do this. And after that, in the school, they don't teach you anything about business. You just have a passion for coaching. You want to coach people and help people. A lot of the coaches, I believe, like we're empaths. We care for other people. We want
Yeah.
people to thrive and be transformed and change the world, right? Like in one way or another, that's what you want. You want to see that transformation. And I'm like, a funnel, a lead magnet. What is that? Nobody. When you go through these coaching programs, I think now a lot of things have changed, but when I took it, there was not much mention of that. And then you go and you open up your account on Instagram and you're thinking that the clients are just going to find you. You're going to put health coach next to your name and they're just going to come flooding. And that's sadly not the reality. Then you start looking, and then sad to say, there are many great coaches and business coaches, but there are others that, they give you those promises that it's almost like that shiny object that is not real. I cannot even remember how I bumped into you, but you had one of those workshops and I attended a couple of them and I'm like, I just like her approach because you were very direct. You were not promising that miracle thing that, oh, you're just going to do this and then you're going to make six figures in a month. Like It was not an empty, but you were very practical and very direct. And you were knowledgeable about anything. I just saw people asking questions, and I would sometimes will have my camera off and just listen. And I'm like, okay, I like her. I think that she can help me. And I knew what I needed to do, but I didn't have the structure to do it. I needed to understand, okay, what is important and what is not, versus spending 2 months trying to work on my webpage or doing this. Sometimes you waste time on a lot of solutions that you see online and they're not that important. But your approach was so like, oh no, this is what you need to do, and you're going to get clients. And also the fact that you never focused on, well, it's like keep posting on Instagram, but you focus a lot on talk to people. And I have a story about that, like how even the mindset, I had to change how I spoke about myself. Like, I am a health coach. Yes, I am. But now I'm not just a health coach. I have a coaching company. Now the
Yep.
way that I speak is very different.
Mhm.
And when I started, I didn't have that mindset. So it was not just about knowing what to do. I knew I needed to do certain things, but I needed the structure. I needed to have somebody with the expertise that you had to guide me when I was stuck or unsure. And I just needed to, okay, if I find a roadmap that I can follow, I know I can execute because I manage many projects. I knew I could execute. I just needed that roadmap because you can spend hours looking online, and all the different coaches, they will sell things that sometimes you don't need, especially at the beginning. That's the key, to know exactly
Yeah.
what you need.
Yeah, you don't know what you even need in the beginning, honestly. And one piece of software that's a client management system looks like, I need that. And then it's like, no, you don't even have any clients. You don't need that piece of software. I don't want to say like, you get preyed on, like people are like, oh, I'll get that new coach. She'll need this software. That's not really the intent, but that's what happens. You watch these videos and you're just desperately looking for an answer you don't even know. So,
Hmm.
anyway, I do have the path, I do have the process. And for anybody listening, I do tell everyone you're not just a coach, you have a coaching company.
Hmm.
You're a coach with a company. So you're right. It is just that mindset shift of like, wait a minute, I have a company. A lot of times it's like, wait a minute, I don't actually want to have a company. It's like, well, here's the deal. If you want to help anyone, you have to have a company and treat it like a business, or you won't get to do the thing that ultimately is the thrill of it all, right? Helping the clients is the part where you're like,
Hmm.
I love this, right? When you make a difference.
Yeah, and that was another, I'm not going to say the misconception, but I think in my head, I was just thinking so much about coaching and how much time that would take. But sadly, there are other things that you need to do in order for you to get
Yeah.
to coaching people. And finding that balance and understanding, okay, like this is important, I need to do it. And you have an episode that you shared how you can work on your business in 6 hours. And technically, that's how I have my time and my days scheduled. I may put a little bit more than the 6 hours, but that's how I actually have things organized. I'm like, okay, this is B2C time. This is my admin time. This is my training time or coaching time. And I was able to organize myself because another thing that is hard when you're having a full-time job or you're having family is to create boundaries, because you could either get to the point that you're always working and you never stop. And in the end, you want balance, just like with food and your A1C. You need balance also with your life and your business.
I'm so glad you brought that up because one of the many things I admire you about Jenny Pena is the fact that you do appear to have balance. And I say appear because I'm not living in your day to day, but I know the way that you treated our education. We have, materials for you to learn from. So then when you come to a coaching call, you can ask me. I always say, come with the knowledge and understanding so you can ask me a quality question, right? So you can have done something. And then once you do something, that's when you actually have really good questions like, okay, I tried this thing, or can you look at this thing? And so I love the approach that you took, knowing that you work full time and knowing that, you have your son. And like you said, you're walking, you're like, you have family, you have other things going on, just like we all do, and you wanted to compartmentalize your business really in the amount of time. So that is for anyone who works full time. We do have coaching on Monday evenings now, every Monday evening. And I really help people who work full time. Like, let's be honest about how much time there is. And then what Jenny said was, once you set the time, you have to follow your own schedule because you could work on this business every single night after your son goes to bed, every single weekend. And you could say, just one more thing. And I mean, I was guilty of that for years, just one
Mhm.
more thing, you know? You don't
Yes.
need to do one more thing.
And sometimes I am a perfectionist in a way, and that was another thing. I remember in one of the coaching sessions that you said, "Okay, B minus work."
Yep.
Like put your time and like get it done and get it out. Because if you keep revising and revise, like you'll never get it done. And in the end, sometimes the most, I'm gonna say, imperfect posts or imperfect things based on our perfectionism are actually the ones that have most impact. Sometimes those reels that I was like, okay, like my hair doesn't look so great or something, and that's the one that actually generates more people to send me DMs. And I'm like, okay, that's interesting. And then the one that maybe you're prepping so much and you're like, oh, what happened? So just be genuine, bring yourself, obviously, but prioritize because that was another thing that I had to be mindful of. The same way that you think about your 9 to 5, right? Like you wouldn't just decide not to show up. If you need to be there at 9, you're not going to just show up at 10 because you didn't feel like it. So for my job and the time that I had allocated for the business, I'm like, okay, like I have to think that I have a boss. The only thing is the boss is me.
Yep.
Like if I don't do this, I'm going to be in trouble with my boss. And I cannot
Yep.
be calling out sick every night because I don't feel like it. And having that commitment to yourself, why not? You're doing it to somebody else's. You're working for somebody else. Why not having that commitment for your own business? So if you treat it like that and do anything that needs to happen, I had to look for, okay, who's going to watch my son certain times? Or I have a project, or I'm launching a new workshop. I'm
Yeah.
going to need time to research and do new slides. When am I going to do that? Sometimes it's Saturday nights, sometimes it's
Yep.
Sunday nights.
Yep.
But you make that conscious decision that, okay, this is what I need to run the business. And there may be times that I'm going to do extra, same way that you do in your 9 to 5 when you have to do overtime. Just treat
Yeah.
it similarly, just that now you're the boss.
Hey coaches, it's Debbie Shadid here. I've got something very special for you. If you're trying to figure out how to get coaching clients on your own and you're wondering what to post, how to explain what you do, or how to actually sell your coaching, this is for you. I'm inviting you to join me for a live edition of the Fast Track and VIP coaching experiences. This is your chance to stop spinning in indecision and finally take those actions that are needed to build a profitable coaching business. You'll get the answers, the guidance, the support you're looking for, plus real-time feedback on your niche, your offers, and your marketing. Spots are very limited and enrollment closes soon. Let's connect. DebbieShadid.com/schedule to claim your spot and to talk about your options. Let's get you clients faster and easier than you ever imagined. I think that sometimes when you have less time and you have a structured schedule, I think you actually get more done because sometimes when there's no schedule and like no boundaries, it's like you are working on things that aren't productive. Like you said,
Mhm.
I know you are hosting a new kind of webinar workshop, and you're right to get prepared for that. You know now the list of things you have to do. It's I have this much time to do it, and in a way can create B minus work during that time because that's all the time you have. And it's like,
Yeah.
if I want to help more people, I have to do this workshop. It can't be perfect. These are the things that have to be done. This is the time I have. And that's the way I'm going to do it because that's the best that I can do. And that works. It really does work.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the good thing is that at times you're learning something new. So it may take a little bit
Yeah.
longer. You may need to put a little bit extra effort, like anything new, right? It takes time for you to learn. But then after you do it, I remember the first, and again, you ignited so much passion in me. For me, like coaching was just coaching, but I remember that you had a workshop about picking the word of the year. I had never picked the word of the year. And my word was fearless last year. And I decided to just not have fear. And maybe it was a bit like intense because every idea that I had, I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna have fear. I'm just gonna try it. The worst that it could happen is that, oh, it doesn't work. I don't like it. Then fine. I pull that out. And that's how I ended up launching a podcast. I
Yes.
ended up now, I started, oh wow, like, can I actually have a workshop? Now I have workshops every month.
Yeah.
So just to see, and at the beginning, it was nervous. I was so nervous at that point. It's something new. But in my mind, what I convinced myself of quieting that fear was, well, it's gonna get better. And if it doesn't work, I can always delete the episode if it's not a good one. Like I will find ways of, okay, I'm not gonna be paralyzed by fear, but I'm gonna face the challenge. And that's what drove last year. And that's what drove me to do so many different things beyond just I'm gonna coach. Like now I do so many different things with the business and it's exciting.
It's so funny. The word of the year, I just finished recording. I'll be sharing the details to this, the AI summit that's happening in May. I'll share the details for everybody to join. But I talked about my word of the year this year is wealthy. So there's a word for you, wealthy. Like, what does a wealthy person, and I'm talking, for me, it's like wealthy in all areas, wealthy in your
Hmm.
health, wealthy in your relationships, not in your bank account's good too, but
Hmm.
it's like wealthy in your coaching relationships. Wealthy is my word of the year. So it's funny that you mentioned that because that is something I obviously do myself as well. I love the fearless one. So,
That was what ignited, like, okay, I have this idea and I tried it. And I'm like, well, and then you assess. You're like, okay, is this what really brings me passion? Then I discovered that I love teaching and connecting with people. I love like that group setting. I love to see transformation. So workshops, now I'm just confident, right? Like I just have an idea and I'm like, okay, this is something that people are really curious about, or they're sending me emails about. Then I create the content. I do the slides. It's a project. But then after you have it, all you need to do is, okay, let's just go and tweak it and improve it. But the big lift, you already did it. And the biggest takeaway that I love to hear is like, wow, this was not a fluffy workshop.
mhm.
Like a lot of
Fluffy
people
is
be
my
like, this
word
was
too,
not
right? Don't
fluffy.
make it
Like I have.
fluffy. Right.
So it's like, okay, they will still, and a lot of them, most of my conversions are actually from the workshops.
Yeah.
That's where I have gotten my clients. But they already have a strategy that they can start with. And then that's when they realize, okay, I do have, and I see the momentum, but I need support.
I
And
need more help.
it has
Yeah.
really worked. It has really
Yeah.
worked.
First of all, I would love for you to share with everyone how you went through the content because I don't use the word course and I encourage other people to not use the word course anymore because like AI is our course, right? We don't need a course, but I don't want to diminish or devalue the education that we provide. But again, it is like the understanding of what it takes to have a business. And there's videos and there's documents that can help you and shortcuts. And then, of course, we offer the coaching. But I would love for you to share how you went through my content and how that worked because I thought that was genius.
Well, what I ended up doing, I remember it was in November. I
Yep.
joined early in November and I had that week of Thanksgiving off. So it was probably like 1 or 2 weeks after that. And I joined the program. I looked and you have like the pillars, you have a
Yep.
beautiful framework.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay, like let me see what awaits me. For me, it was more a matter of like, how can I look at what do I need to do? How can I get prepared? And how much time do I have? Instead of just going one by one, I decided to just power through everything. That's
Uh-huh.
all you could hear in my house. I was listening to that the entire day for that entire week of Thanksgiving. We didn't have any crazy plans. We were not traveling that year. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do this and then I'm going to create my project plan. And then I had clear deadlines. I'm like, okay, by December, mind you, this is Thanksgiving. By December, I am going to have my webpage already set up. I'm going to
Mhm.
have my scheduler already set up. Like I had all these things, and every month or so, I just had a deadline and I had something very clear. And I committed to myself that if I needed to go to bed at midnight just to hit that, I was going to do it because it was
Yeah.
just a one and done. And that's
Yeah.
what I did. I went through the entire thing, and that's why I ended up towards the end. You're talking about workshops, you're talking about mindset, take five. Like you have so many tools that give you that CEO mindset. And there was a section about podcast. And I remember that was the first fearless decision that I made that year. I'm like, okay, like what do I need to do the podcast? I remember I was recording on Zoom. I'm like, okay, like how much do I have to pay? Oh, I can do this for free? Fine.
Yeah.
And I ended up just doing it. And I'm like, I'm going to start talking about what I love, which is, okay, let's talk about diabetes and blood sugar and questions that people may have, questions that I had when I was diagnosed. So thinking about all of that and just doing it and creating a plan that, yeah, sometimes I'll be like, oops, something happened or my son got sick, but being very committed to that plan versus I'm just going to work on something today. Because then how do you know that you're really gaining traction? So for me, being somebody that has worked and managed projects before, I'm like, no, I'm going to look at everything. Oh, there are four main pillars, there are four areas. Then I'm going to have X amount of weeks for this. And I just set up everything based on the weeks and the time, blocked my calendar. I'm like, this needs to be done. Even if I need to work a little extra, if I need to hire a babysitter, this is what's going to happen. And my first workshop was back after, let me see, I joined November. By March, I had my first
Mhm.
workshop.
Yeah.
And then April, I had my first sign up from the workshop.
Yeah. It's so cool. The thing that I remember is that I was looking in the portal for some reason and I never ever looked to see who's completed anything. Never. I always say like, look, you should watch the trainings because you paid for them. But in reality, I'm available on all of our coaching calls every single week to tell you what to do. I'll tell you what to do. So some people do it that way. They don't watch anything. But I looked in and you'd done 100%. And I was like, she did 100% like she just started. It was like within a month of you starting, like how that I thought there was something wrong with my system. I thought there's no way. I literally asked our girls, how could that be that this lady got 100%? But then when I asked you about it, you said, it was good to have like the full picture of the whole. And I was like, that is genius. I mean, if I could get everybody to do that, because every step does build on the
Hmm.
other. And then you really understand, like, okay, I understand about getting these things about my niche identified because that's going to help me write the marketing message. And I
Hmm.
understand once I have the pain points from the marketing message, then I can do this. And I like it all fits together, but you don't know that until it's almost like you get to the end and then you look back and people come to coaching calls and they're like, oh, I see now, but you did it ahead of time.
Yep. Yep. And for me, it was important to understand, okay, because there are some pillars. Okay, what is it that I need? What are the tasks associated with that? Right? Because there's a lot of learning. You need to understand the concept, but then there is a doing part, right? Like if
Yeah,
you're working on your niche, well, you need to do some market research because you may have an idea of what your ideal client wants. Maybe that's not what they want. And you need to use
yeah,
their words, right? Like you need to adjust your messaging. I didn't know exactly how to structure my webpage. What are some things, right? But you had that and you had that structure like, okay, this is how you create your marketing message. So I needed that, but I'm like, so I need to go on my not so good website that I created. I don't even know how I
I
created
know, but
that.
congratulations. I mean, honestly, Jenny, you had already done things that most people only talk about doing.
And I realized it took me 10 times more time. I'm like, I wish I would have found Debbie earlier. I would have been so much more far along just because I wasted a lot of time, sometimes DIYing things.
Yeah.
And that's also what I have even with my own potential clients. A lot of them, I have one particular client, and I asked him, I'm like, can I share your story? He's like, sure. He came, he had a clarity call with me, and he was at pre-diabetes range, very close to type 2 diabetes. And it
Hmm.
was already showing other markers in his labs. And I'm like, okay. He's like, well, the doctor said that I just need to eat more vegetables and start walking. I think I can do it on myself. I'm like, okay, that's perfectly fine, right? Like that he made that decision. Little did you know that months after, he ended up developing type 2 diabetes. And then he realized, okay, I realized that I have the information, but I need a strategy. I need somebody that's going to help me with the strategy. So I ended up working with him. He lowered his A1C. Now he's at pre-diabetes range and now he's working through that and working through other things. But then he saw the difference between, okay, sometimes knowing the information is not
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah. Well, and look, honestly, I mean, accountability is a piece of it. Accountability doesn't mean that you're weak. And I'm always talking about AI now because how can we not talk about
Mm-hmm.
AI? But I
Mm-hmm.
always say, I'd like coaches to almost incorporate it into their business, like utilize it. It's there as a tool. And I don't mean for marketing. I'm talking about like, how could you use AI with your clients to help them with something to do with their A1C? I'm sure
Mm-hmm.
there's something you could do. Why not use it as a tool? But in reality, AI will never be the accountability. It'll never be the subtleties of the conversations of you seeing somebody get on a call and you seeing them, let's say, camera off for 2 weeks, and you're like, hey, what's happening? Like, turn on your camera and let me see your
Mm-hmm.
face. Let me see what's going on
Mm-hmm.
from a loving way, right?
Mm-hmm.
AI is never going to do that. It is so true that we really need that support. And I say this often too, since 2019 COVID or 2020, since that year of COVID,
Yep.
whatever year
Yep.
that was that the
It is.
COVIDs came to
Yep.
visit us, since that year, life
Yes.
just changed for everybody. And accountability and connection is important. And that is really, I'm sure for this gentleman, you're right. That's the
Mm-hmm.
difference. That's why you went to health coach training. The doctor didn't have the time. It wasn't that they didn't care. He didn't have the time
Yeah.
and couldn't. They're controlled by a timer clock and they
Yep,
couldn't help
pretty
you.
much. Pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of the doctors is like, okay, like you spend maybe 10 minutes. There's no
Yep.
way that you can troubleshoot certain things in 10 minutes. It's like it doesn't work. And believe it or not, because of what you shared about, okay, like think outside of the box. Like now I am partnering with doctors, and sometimes they send me their clients, right? Like now I was very keen on focusing on my community because I'm in New York
Yeah.
and my Hispanic community, and a lot of them, sorry, like they cannot afford the coaching. But
Yeah.
now I'm partnering with community companies that are actually providing the education. Follow your joy, follow your passion, and think of ways of, okay, like this is what I want to do. And I still have a business, so I still need to generate income. How can I make it work? So it's a win-win for the individual and that you can actually provide that service and not necessarily need to do it for free, but to just provide it for those that maybe cannot afford it. I had another story. I had a lady, her husband and her daughter, they all had blood sugar issues.
Wow.
And I ended up having a group coaching session because I ended up having them together. And that's how I accommodated the price for them. It's like, okay, like this is the time that I have.
Oh,
How can I work things out? And we worked on it, and they're doing amazingly well. And they actually embraced a lot of the change as a family,
wow,
which is
that would
even
be
better.
good.
So think outside the box. Think about what is it? What is your calling? What do you want to coach on? Fill in the blank. How can you make it work so that you can still help people, still support your business? You still need to support as a business, but do it and keep that joy. Find those activities that really fill your cup. And people are going to see that, they're going to sense that, and that's what is going to make a difference between them paying me versus somebody else.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Okay, two more things I want to talk about that were such a surprise. One was the day that I was scrolling on social media. I remember it was in the morning, like I was having my morning coffee. I was looking, and your profile came up, a post, and it was my podcast cover, which, first of all, to be clear, it's not mine, it's our clients, but it happened to be the exact podcast cover that I use. It was my podcast cover with Jenny's picture on it, which, first of all, I didn't know that she was going to do a podcast. So I'm like, whoa, because I share the graphics with you guys and say, why would you not use what I've had a designer create that stuff, use my stuff. But it was so fun because so many other people are just constantly trying to, and I'm not saying my stuff is the best, but what I said was just use my stuff because it's the easiest. Like, this is a time saver. And people don't use my stuff like the podcast cover. They might think, they use some of it, but the podcast cover, they'd be like, oh, I don't want to have the same as Debbie's. For goodness sakes, we don't have the same podcast, so it doesn't matter.
Hmm.
But yeah,
Hmm.
that was a fun surprise.
Yeah, I decided, I'm like, okay, if I want to do this, because I remember I was fearless. So I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, fearless B minus. So
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna do this. Okay, like, do I want to go on Canva and try to create this thing? And again, even Canva, as great as a tool that it is, it can take time for you to get
Oh
used to it
yeah.
and to
Yeah.
modify and to do this. I'm like, no. And then in the end, I'm like, okay, what are my colors? I'm like, okay, blue. And
Yeah.
mind you, I had like different colors. And
Yeah.
just because diabetes awareness is a color blue, my son is on the autism spectrum. So then blue, there's an emotional tie to that color for me.
Yeah.
So there were always going to be shades of blue in my branding. But I'm like, okay, I'm going to do blue. That's it. I'll put my picture, even the name. Now I'm thinking, okay, path to better A1C. I'm like, maybe it's not that great in terms of SEO, but that's what I
It
came up
doesn't
with.
matter. You did it and it's
And I
worked.
did it. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, it's there. And a lot of people really, they don't try to over engineer these things. A lot of
Yeah.
us, we want these designs that are like so, and most times people don't even pay attention too much on the design.
No, they don't.
They just want to connect with you. They want to assess, okay, can you help me or not? And then can I afford you or not? And those are the decisions pretty much. But yeah,
Even
I
the
just went
name,
for it.
that's funny that you said Path at A1C isn't all that SEO friendly, although it says A1C, which is what your
Hmm.
thing is.
Yep.
But I remember having my podcast for a long time. My podcast was called The Business Building Boutique originally. And then I had this moment of after, 250 episodes, it doesn't say coach in my title. So I changed it to the Life Coach Business Building, so I changed it, but I was like, wow, I literally have had thousands of downloads. I mean, thousands and thousands. I've gotten all kinds of clients from that. And it doesn't even say coach in my title, in my thing,
Hmm. Yep.
So, those things, they do matter, but they don't.
Yeah. And then I found out, I'm like, oh, okay. Like, do I want to rename the
Yeah.
podcast? Right. I thought about that. But then I'm like, no, because you can still put in the tagline and
Yeah.
the SEO, they're going to do it.
Yeah.
So I ended up adding diabetes, obviously, because if somebody is a
Yeah.
diabetic or a pre-diabetic, I
Right.
want them to find me. So I
Yeah.
just had to adjust it. And that is another thing that has been growing. And I get a lot of people on my email list through the podcast. A lot of
Mhm.
people end up in Instagram through the podcast. And you will get like these random, not so random emails saying, like, that episode spoke to me so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. And that brings me joy. So
Yeah.
sometimes I'm like, okay, it's 11 o'clock at night and I'm recording this
Your
podcast,
podcast. Yes.
but it brings me so much joy because I'm like, that's the way of bringing that awareness and bringing the strategies for those
Yeah.
that maybe cannot afford or they're not ready for coaching, but they need a bit of guidance. And that's what I love about it.
I was talking earlier about you don't know what you don't know. And
Hmm.
it's the same way with, the pre-diabetic condition. Like there's a lot that people don't even know that
Hmm.
they should know. And that podcast gives people an opportunity to see, like, wow, I don't really know or understand what is really happening here. Again,
Hmm.
like you started out saying, like, you think you shouldn't eat sugar ever. Well, I mean, that's probably not realistic in your life. But let me
Hmm.
empower you with what you really need to know, because boy, it's so much easier to make decisions if you understand
Yeah.
something, right? You
Yeah.
make an
And not
empowered
only
decision.
that, another thing that a lot of people, right? Like I talk a lot about the blood sugar spikes or the blood sugar roller coaster. And a lot of people are like, what do you mean by that? And I'm like, well, you know that feeling that you have after you have lunch that you feel like you need a nap? That means that you had a blood sugar spike, your body produced insulin, and you crashed. That's pretty much what it means. Or why you're having cravings at 3 o'clock, or why you're having a lot of it. Everybody should be balancing their blood sugars. So it's not just, oh, I need to be pre diabetic in order for me to be concerned. It's like you should practice that balanced blood sugar regardless. That's why you have people with brain fog or lack of energy or feeling lethargic. You do need carbs. The brain needs carbs, right? Like that feeling of dopamine. There are a lot of hormones that need carbs. Now, how do you incorporate them and how do you balance your plate? That's the secret sauce that I believe I have. But
Yeah, I know
um,
you do. I know
that
you do.
that's pretty much the key. And a lot of people are not aware and they think that, oh yeah, like I always feel like I'm gonna pass out after lunch. And they think that is normal. That it's like, oh, that's how it is. I'm like, well, that's not how it should be, by the way. But I know what you could do to try to change that. And that's what I love about what I do. So it's like a lot of the strategy behind it because they have this knowledge about, oh, carbs are bad, or I need to do this, or I need to starve myself. And that is also not good for your metabolism. So there are different things, and there's a lot of also groups and people out there that sometimes are pushing a certain agenda, and it's not all science based. Sometimes there is a monetary benefit with that when they're pushing some supplements. Again, like
Yeah.
things that you have to be mindful and careful of. But that's why I break up my podcasts are I break science and sometimes I bring even myths. Like, okay, can you really lower your A1C doing this? Let's talk about what the science says and let's talk about what you can actually do that does work, that there's science behind.
Yeah.
Let's clear it up. And that's what I love doing. And many people come back and are like, whoa, I didn't know that. And that's a good feeling.
It is. Well, Jenny, tell us what you have ahead of you or what you're working on, what people can look forward to, what's next for you.
Now I'm reaching capacity because thankfully, like I'm getting referrals, I'm getting things. So one-on-one is becoming a bit hard to sustain for the
What a
demand,
great thing.
which
What
is
a
a
great
great
problem to
problem to
have.
have. And now I'm just thinking about, okay, can I do this coaching container like my framework? I created a 12-week program, do it in a group setting. And it's funny that you mentioned don't call it course because at one point I was thinking about creating a course. That was my next step. Even if I were to create a course, I was going to
Yeah.
do it still with the support, but more
Yeah.
about having the resources. But
Yeah.
that's like another project that I have probably further down the line. But for now, I feel like I have enough of the resources. It's more like translating that into a group.
Yeah.
And then also the other thing that I have been doing that it was a bit surprising is lunch and learns for different companies. So I have been
Yeah.
able to actually have workshops with companies. So I started connecting with people that are like HR managers and benefits coordinators. And that's another side of my business that I'm enjoying. And it's amazing.
Wow.
Good.
I love that. Hey, Jenny, don't forget we have that. You have access to that coaching brochure or the podcast guide. Either one of those you could modify, which maybe you've
Oh,
already,
I already
okay,
did
to
it. I
send
already
to
have a,
some of
I
those
already created a
companies. It looks,
page and a brochure. And it is a different thing, right? Like it's like you're marketing your business for clients, but now I'm
yes,
marketing my business for other businesses.
yes,
So the
yes.
tone and everything is different, but
Yeah.
it was something that was surprising. And I would say one thing that I'm thankful to you, the change of my mindset. I casually shared with a neighbor, what do you do for work? And what came out of my mouth? I have a health coaching business that focuses on diabetes prevention. He's like, oh, but I manage all the benefits of the company. Like, can you give me your information so you can come? And that's as simple as that. That's how that opportunity opened up. And then I realized, wait a minute, there's a business opportunity here that maybe I was not thinking about it too much. And now I'm having other connections. So now this one person connected me to other fellow HR managers.
Oh
So
my
now,
gosh, Jenny.
if there's one thing that I would say to any woman out there that is trying to embrace that mindset, you're not just a coach, you're not just a life coach, you own a business. Own it,
Mhm.
practice it. Look at yourself in the mirror and say it. Just because, just sharing that, I could have answered very differently, but just saying that catapulted into several engagements. It produced just that one act of just speaking.
Oh my gosh, this makes me so happy. You know, Jenny, you probably remember the presentation that I do where I'm like, there's circles on the screen, and
Mhm.
I'm like, it's like you throw a rock into the pond and it ripples. And I always use the reference of the plumber, like we don't look, there are no yellow pages, but we're not looking up a plumber. We're going now. Who was that plumber that came to my neighbor's house? Or you're at the office telling, and they're like, oh, a friend of a friend.
Mhm.
That's exactly what happened because you told the lady what you did, like the doorway opened. Now, while it doesn't open every time, you just never know. That's so fantastic.
So right now, most are coming from my workshops. A lot of people then they end up scheduling a call. Others, they come, okay, I work with you. I work with this lady. And then all of a sudden, her son had some health issues that were not even diabetic related. And she ended up like, can you please like just create a plan and this and that? He needs help. So just doing an amazing job, right? Like that, they're going to remember you. And then they're going to talk to their friends about it. And before you know it, not that everything has to be fully relying on referrals, but there is power to it. Because I have had a lot of clients that they're coming like that. They're like, well, you coach this person. And now and I'm seeing how great he's doing or she's doing.
Yeah.
And then, like, okay, like they ask them, and then they have to say, oh, I've been working with Coach Jenny. So then it's so much easier. It's like
Huh,
free marketing right there, just by you
that's
doing an
right.
amazing job. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
They come
it's
ready to
been very
buy in.
transformative.
Well, Jenny, thank you so much, not only for just being a delight for me. Selfishly, I love it. I love action takers and I love what you're doing and all those things, but the work that you're doing. I remember when you told me, my husband's type 2 diabetic, and I'm sure that you probably recall that. I was like, oh my word, this is like a needed thing, right? It's not that long ago that you started this, but I hadn't seen anyone online. For those of you that think your niche is like, you're not sure about your niece. I hadn't seen anyone that said pre-diabetic helping
Mhm.
people with that condition coaching. I hadn't seen that. And that obviously is again, the percentage of people that are pre-diabetic is wildly huge number
Well,
of
I,
people.
I can tell you 1 in 3. That's why I
Oh,
was like, I'm not going to have a problem of finding clients because I know 1 in 3 Americans,
wow.
that's the CDC, 1 in 3 Americans have prediabetes. Now, there is a side note to that is even more alarming. Out of those, 80% have no clue.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. How many people don't know it?
And then a lot of my content sometimes it's like, okay, like understanding your labs. Maybe you're not pre-diabetic yet, but what are the markers? Does it runs in your family? Are you seeing a trend? Again, are you having that feeling of you need a siesta? You need a nap at 2 o'clock in the afternoon? Those are telltales that are telling you your blood sugar is a bit imbalanced, and it's just a matter of time for that insulin resistance to develop. But creating that awareness, and then it's like, oh, wait a minute, like what is happening? Or I had a client that she had gestational diabetes to the point that she had to use insulin. And she's like, Jenny, I am scared. I don't ever want to have to experience that again. I want to make sure that I develop the strategies that are going to help me. And to this day, we'll still stay connected. We'll still have like maintenance meetings, like every 2, 3 months we meet. She shares where she's at, if she's struggling with anything, and we work through that. But just to see that, it's like, okay, like, and I was hesitant, between like, okay, should I focus on type 2 or should I focus on pre-diabetes? But I'm like, okay, like pre-diabetes is my story. Like I
Yeah.
was diagnosed before I was 30 and I was not overweight.
Yeah. And the thing is, just to wrap this up for good, Jenny, you focus on pre-diabetes and somebody with gestational diabetes came to you anyway. So I
Hmm.
always say that too, like, don't worry that you're leaving people out because when people see you and they connect with you,
Hmm.
they come anyway.
Yep. Yep. I had people with acid reflux and gut issues, and they're like, well, but I really want to work with you. Would you be able to work with me? And like it in the end, when you coach, at least for health coaching, you coach the person, not the illness, because obviously I'm not a doctor, but
Yeah.
you're able to create the behavioral change and focus on, okay, like how can you incorporate these habits that fit your life? And that's the
Yeah.
part that no AI can tell you. AI is going to tell you the
Yeah.
standard, the very boxed
Yeah.
response to things. But then when you add complexity to it,
Yes.
that's where it fails. So that's
Yeah.
the beauty of coaching.
Oh my goodness. Thank you a million times over for what you do, for being a fun friend to have. And I appreciate the work that you do. Again, we'll leave all of your links here. Everybody follow Jenny, connect with her on Instagram because there's things I wanted to tell you about Instagram. We're out of time. That is super fun. So make sure you go over there and follow, listen to her podcast, and please share her information with anyone you know. 1 in 3 people, she just said. Share your
Yeah.
information with the people that you know that are already diagnosed with that so they can learn from Jenny as well. So, anyway,
Okay. Thank you so much for having me. Always a pleasure.
all right, you guys have a beautiful day. Thank you.